They laugh because they do not understand the law. They laugh because they believe only in the visible, the tangible, the provable. And yet every outcome begins in the unseen. Every victory is born in silence. What they see as delay is merely the perfect order unfolding beyond their limited awareness. For the moment you claimed the desire as yours, truly felt it, possessed it in your imagination, dwelled in its certainty, the entire structure of your world began to shift. Not by accident and not by effort, but by law. There is no outer accomplishment that does not have its roots in the unseen movement of assumption. The world responds not to your words, not to your actions, but to the state of consciousness from which you think and live. When you are still begging for proof, the law waits. But when you accept your desire as already yours, not in fantasy, but in full emotional conviction, then the law has no choice but to act. It has already moved. It does not wait for permission. The moment you impress the subconscious with a new assumption, reality must begin its reconfiguration. What you call the outer world is simply a mirror, nothing more. And mirrors do not act on their own. They reflect what you are. The biggest error people make is to assume that nothing has changed until they see it. But the wise know that change occurs first in the unseen. A tree does not rise from the ground before the seed has taken root in darkness. The harvest does not appear before the soil is transformed. So too with your life. Do not look to the outer as evidence. Look instead to your inner acceptance. The law does not respond to begging. It responds to belief. Once you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the game is over. The world begins to act in ways you cannot predict, in times you cannot control, and with people you cannot foresee. And this is not mystery, it is precision. The bridge of incidents is not random. It is ordered, aligned, and perfect. Every movement of time, every meeting, every delay, every seeming mistake, all of it is part of the unfolding. But none of it can happen until you first move, not physically, but inwardly. The most sacred movement you will ever make is not with your hands, not with your feet, but with your inner attention. Where you dwell in mind, you soon dwell in flesh. If you are dwelling in lack, even while acting in confidence, you will experience lack. But if you dwell in success, even while surrounded by silence and emptiness, you will call forth the evidence of that success. This is the law, not a philosophy, not a metaphor, but a working principle. The world bends to the assumptions you hold as true. When you see others rise and celebrate their victories, understand that their harvest began in a secret place. They held themselves differently. They dared to claim their future before a single thing changed. And this is what you are called to do now. Not tomorrow. Not when it feels more real. Not when your outer world is more supportive. Now. Because the law is not waiting. The moment you claim the end, the movement begins. You must become deaf to the evidence of the senses. The world will scream that nothing has changed. The people will reflect back your former self. Even your own thoughts will betray you. But remain still. Do not fight the shadow. Replace it with light. Imagination is the light and feeling is the power. Assume the state. Occupy the place. Live as though it were done. The law does not resist the one who walks in the feeling of completion. It obeys. It follows. It serves. Not as a servant obeys a master, but as a mirror reflects an image. Your inner world leads, and the outer obeys. Do not ask for signs, they will come, but only after you no longer need them. The one who truly believes does not look for proof, they are the proof. When you embody the end, when you speak from the victory rather than toward it, when your conversations, reactions, expectations are born from the state of wish fulfilled, then the world cannot resist you. It is drawn, shaped, remade in your likeness, and it is all lawful. The beauty of the law is that no one can interfere. No one can stop your assumption from manifesting. They may mock, they may speak, they may even act against you. But it matters not. The law is impersonal. It does not take sides, it does not consider fairness. It simply produces what is assumed. And so you win not because others lose, not because you fight harder, but because you dare to live from a reality no one else can yet see. And as you do, it becomes visible. One day they will watch, the very ones who doubted, the ones who questioned, who asked how, who said it was foolish. They will watch the unfolding. They will call it luck. They will call it coincidence. But you will know. You will remember that moment of silence when you sat with your imagination, felt the truth of your desire, and said yes without seeing. That was the true beginning, the moment the law moved. And so do not be disturbed by delay. Do not react to what appears. Stand firm in the unseen. Assume the end and remain there. The law has already moved. The rest is simply the unfolding of what has already been written in feeling. You are not hoping, you are not wishing. You are not pleading with the world to bend to your desires. You are becoming. You are embodying. You are inwardly assuming the truth of what you seek, and by doing so, you are creating. The world does not respond to effort, it responds to identity. The moment you feel yourself to be the one you desire to become, everything around you begins its silent reorganization. It is not a matter of time, but of consciousness. And your consciousness is the only reality you must concern yourself with. Many believe that success lies in action, in strategy, in outward performance. But all action is born of belief. No effort can contradict the state you occupy in imagination. If you continue to act like one who is striving, while inwardly assuming the identity of someone who lacks, then no matter how much you do, the result will reflect your inner claim. Action is only fruitful when it flows from the awareness of already being. You must act as the one who has, not the one who hopes to have. This distinction is everything. When you speak of desire, speak not of what you want, but of what you already are. Let your words carry the tone of certainty, of completion, of gratitude. Do not wait for the outer to approve of your new state. The outer cannot lead, it must follow. It must take the shape of your inner self-concept. So decide now. Decide inwardly and completely that you are the one you have longed to become. And then dare to think, feel, speak, and live from that place. You are not performing a ritual. You are claiming your truth. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the doorway. Once you walk through it, the law begins its work. You need not concern yourself with what must be done to achieve your goal. That is the domain of the unseen power that moves through all things. Your only task is to persist in your assumption. Not visit it, not flirt with it, but dwell in it as one dwells in a home. You must feel its walls around you, its air upon your skin, its presence as real as breath. This is not fantasy. This is creation. There is no power outside your own consciousness. If you believe that something must happen before you can claim your desire, then you have already surrendered your authority. The truth is that you are the cause, always the cause. You do not need the world to give you permission to believe. You do not need evidence to feel worthy. The moment you choose the new state and feel it as though it were done, the work begins. Imagination is the workshop of creation. It is not limited by the laws of logic or the appearances of the moment. What you dare to assume as true will crystallize in time. You may not know how. You may not predict the hour. But that is not your concern. Leave the bridge of incidents to form naturally. The law does not require your help, only your faith. Stand in the knowing and allow the unseen to shape the scene. Do not underestimate the power of silence. In stillness you claim. In quiet you create. The outer world may tempt you to react, to defend, to explain. But none of that is necessary. You do not explain the sun to darkness. You simply shine. So it is with your assumption. You need not prove it. You need only hold it steadily, deeply, without contradiction, and in time, the outer will adjust to match. When others see you walking with calm in a storm, they will not understand. They will think you are blind, unaware, even foolish. But you are not reacting to the storm, you are responding to the inner image. Your mind is fixed on the end, and the end is what governs your steps. The outer world is old news. The inner world is where the new is born. So trust what you see in imagination, even when the facts disagree, especially when they disagree. For the greatest miracles occur when the outer says impossible and the inner says done. It is easy to believe when things are going well. It is natural to assume good when good surrounds you. But the master is not revealed in ease, the master is revealed in persistence. When nothing seems to move, yet you continue to dwell in the end. When all appearances mock your assumption, and yet you remain faithful. That is power, that is creation, that is law. You must train your mind to return again and again to the fulfilled state. Let it become your resting place, your center, your refuge. And from that center, let your thoughts rise. Let your actions flow. Let your speech reflect the confidence of one who knows. Not thinks, not hopes, knows. That knowing is your signature. That knowing is what compels the law to act. Others may still be waiting for signs. They will chase, strive, manipulate, and exhaust themselves. But you, having seen the truth within, simply rest in the end. You carry yourself differently. You look through new eyes, and the world begins to notice, not because you forced it, but because you became it. Do not ask the world to change. Change your world within. The outer is only the echo. The inner is the voice. Speak clearly, confidently, as though the desire were already yours. Feel it, live it, be it, and let the law handle the rest. There is a sacred order behind every detail of your experience. The world you walk through each day is not accidental, not separate, not indifferent. It is the precise reflection of your inner state. There is no event, no meeting, no delay, no elevation, no fall that does not proceed directly from your own assumptions. The law never sleeps. It moves the moment you do not physically but imaginally. And once moved, it begins the silent orchestration of all things necessary for the fulfillment of what you accepted as real. You are not here to chase outcomes. You are here to become cause. The outer world is only a shell. It responds to the vibration of your inner world. And the vibration is not words, nor effort, nor emotion in isolation. It is identity. What you claim inwardly as already true is the blueprint. The law takes that blueprint and builds it into form. You need not supervise the construction. You do not need to micromanage the unfolding. The intelligence that governs the seasons, the tides, and the stars is the same intelligence that governs your life. It does not need your worry. It requires only your alignment. Every desire comes with its own fulfillment. If you desire it, the state already exists. You are not creating the state, you are selecting it. You are choosing to enter it by accepting its feeling as your own. And when you do, everything outside of you begins to change, to conform, to yield. The people you must meet, the ideas that must reach you, the timing that must align, all of it begins to form with a precision that defies explanation. And it will appear to others as coincidence, as fate, even as luck. But you will know it was law. When the assumption is firm, when the inner image is vivid and emotionally felt, the outer must obey. It has no choice. It is not independent of you. It is you in expression. There is no separation between the invisible and the visible. They are different degrees of the same reality. The imaginal act is the cause. The physical event is the effect. One follows the other as surely as day follows night. You do not plant a seed and demand fruit the next morning. You trust the process. You honor the unseen. So it is with your desires. Let the law move without your interference. It does not need your doubt, your questioning, your hurry. The movement has already begun the moment you accepted the end as now. If you step into the state of already having what you want, then the universe, like a servant who knows his master's command, begins the execution. It does not delay out of cruelty, but because the bridge of incidents must be walked in time. But it has already begun, and because it has begun, it must complete itself. It is finished in the higher realm. It is merely unfolding in this one. Hold fast to your assumption. When appearances contradict it, smile inwardly. When circumstances mock it, remain still. The world is showing you yesterday's belief. It cannot yet reflect today's new decision. But it will. It always does. The law is exact. What you sow in feeling, you reap in form. You need not even tell others. You do not need to declare your dream to the world. The silence of your conviction will do all the work. The quiet inner knowing, the still assurance that what you imagine is real, will move mountains. Do not confuse stillness with passivity. Stillness is the power. It is in stillness that you align with the truth of your being. It is in quiet imagination that you plant the seeds of your tomorrow. The loudest voices are not the most powerful. The deepest changes begin in whispers, inner shifts that no one sees until the harvest arrives. And then the world will ask how you did it. But there will be no method, no formula, no secret other than this. You assumed it was already so, and you lived from that knowing. This is not arrogance. It is obedience to the law. You are not asking the world to give you what you have not earned. You are recognizing that what you truly accept inwardly is already yours. The only question is whether you are willing to believe in the unseen long enough for the seen to appear. Most falter because they demand signs. But signs come only after faith. They are the echo, not the voice. They are the shadow, not the light. So walk in faith. Live from the end. Be still and know. When you hold to the assumption with clarity and calm, the law moves through people, through time, through what seems like chance. But it is not chance, it is precision. It is the outpicturing of your inner conviction. It is the unfolding of your inner reality. The bridge of incidents may not always be pleasant. There may be twists, detours, delays, but these are not obstacles, they are pathways. Trust that the movement has begun. You need only stay in the end. Persist, return, occupy. If you return to the old state, the old world will reappear. But if you remain faithful to the new state in thought, in feeling, in imagination, then the new world must come. It is not a matter of belief alone. It is law. Let others wonder. Let them try to understand. But you, having seen the end in imagination, walk with a confidence that does not need approval. The law has already moved, and nothing can stop the unfolding of what has been inwardly accepted as true. You must understand the truth that changes everything. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the game is over. That moment, not the outer event, not the applause of others, not the arrival of evidence, but that moment of inward assumption is the only true beginning. From there, everything must obey the direction you have given to life. The world is not separate from your consciousness, it is made from it. To feel the wish fulfilled is to step into the creative center of your existence, to speak the language of law, and to command the structure of reality to reshape itself. The world does not respond to what you want. It responds to who you are being. It mirrors not your longings, but your assumptions. An assumption is not passive thought. It is the acceptance, the inner embrace, the emotional occupancy of a state. If you dare to assume truly, emotionally, with confidence and repetition, then reality bends. The unseen becomes seen. The invisible becomes visible. But it does not happen by waiting. It happens by living in the end. To live in the end means you no longer question when it will come. You know that it has. You wake up with the feeling that it is done. You speak from that place. You act as one who already possesses the thing once longed for. And in doing so, you cease to be a seeker, you become the embodiment. You no longer chase your desire, you express it. There is no need to struggle, there is no need to chase. The moment you accept the end as real, everything else is set in motion. Life responds to your inner conviction, not to your outer demand. So rather than cry out to the world, command it from within. Rather than ask, assume. When the world sees you walking with certainty, it does not know what to make of it. They wonder how you can move with such peace when nothing has changed. But you know the secret: everything has changed because you have. You do not need to force things into being. You do not need to manipulate circumstances or control people. All of that effort is unnecessary when you operate from the end. The law does not need your help, it only needs your alignment. Once the feeling of completion becomes your dwelling place, the law fulfills it naturally. It is done unto you as you believe, not as you try, not as you effort, but as you believe. So the key is to dwell in belief, to abide in the felt knowing that your desire is already your reality. You must feel it real. That is the only creative act. Feel it in your body. Let the emotion of having it rise in your chest. Let your breath match the rhythm of one who no longer waits. Let your heart steady itself in satisfaction. Let your mind reflect the thoughts that only one who has already received would think. This is the great secret, that feeling is the currency of creation. You do not get what you want. You get what you feel to be true. This is not pretending. It is not delusion. It is deeper than acting. It is becoming. You are not fooling yourself when you live in the end. You are awakening to the truth that creation is finished. Every possible outcome already exists. And your job is not to make something new, but to select, to tune in, to shift your awareness to that version of life where your desire is already fulfilled. You do this through feeling. You do this through assumption. You do this by returning again and again to the end until it becomes your only reality. Remain loyal to the end. Do not look back to the old state. Do not argue with appearances. Do not seek proof outside of yourself. Remain loyal to the feeling of accomplishment. And if you slip, return. If you doubt, return. If the old world shows its face, bless it and return. For the end you have chosen will manifest if only you remain in it. You must become indifferent to the delay. You must walk as though the bridge is already built beneath your feet, even if you cannot yet see it. That bridge will appear through a series of events, encounters, and coincidences that seem natural, but were in fact perfectly orchestrated by the law the moment you moved within. These are not random, these are not chance. They are the unfolding of your own self-conception. You assumed the end and life began to conform. Others will try to understand, but most will not. They will see your outer world changing, and they will try to trace it back to some action, some external cause. But there is none. The cause is unseen. The cause is internal. You made the change not by action, but by identity. You became the one who has, and life reflected that decision. And so you live in the end not because it's convenient, not because the world has given you reason, but because you understand the law. You know that to remain in the state is to bring it forth. There is no other way. And once you have tasted the reality of this truth, you can never again return to waiting. You realize now that you were never waiting on the world. The world was waiting on you. The people who once ignored you will turn their heads. The ones who questioned your path, who whispered behind your back, who doubted your vision, they will all wonder how it happened. And you will say nothing, because you will understand that it did not happen in the world. It happened in you. They are only seeing now what you had already accepted long before the evidence came. The victory you are about to live was not born of luck, nor effort, nor approval. It was born of assumption. It was born in imagination. It was not something you worked for in the outer world. It was something you lived in inwardly long enough to make it real. The world is not a judge, it is a mirror. It cannot give you what you have not already given to yourself. What others see as change is merely a reflection of the change in consciousness that you dared to make. You were never waiting on them. You were never needing them to see. You needed only to see yourself as the one who has already become. You must become it before the world recognizes it. This is the paradox that confuses most. They think the world must give first, and then they will feel. But it is the feeling that gives birth to the world. You do not wait for applause to feel successful. You feel successful and the applause comes. You do not wait for love to feel worthy. You feel worthy and love appears. All things are drawn to you by the tone of your inner state. It is not what you say that moves the world. It is the vibration from which you speak. When your words come from a place of being, of fulfillment, of already having, they carry power. not because others understand you, but because reality itself must respond. The vibration of already having contains within it the blueprint for its own unfolding. When you embody the state, the conditions must arrange themselves to match. And it does not matter who doubted you, for now they are powerless. They cannot resist what you have already claimed. There is a silent dignity in one who knows, not one who thinks, not one who hopes, but one who knows. The knowing comes from within. It is not taught, and it is not explained. It is felt, it is lived. And once you live from that knowing, the law responds. It does not ask for credentials. It does not ask for external validation. It asks only for your loyalty to the new state. You must walk as the one who already is. That is the only requirement. When you walk from that place, not toward it, then the invisible machinery begins to work. People move. Events shift. Doors open. But they are not happening to you. They are happening through you. You are not the observer of change. You are the cause. This is why those who once ignored you will now notice. You have changed your center. You are no longer operating from lack, from waiting, from needing. You are moving from fullness. You are carrying a different fragrance, the fragrance of completion. And the world, sensitive to that fragrance, must respond accordingly. Some will be drawn. Some will be confused. Some may even retreat. But the law remains the same. You are always attracting the likeness of your own self-concept. If you continue to act as though you are still becoming, the world will treat you as someone who is incomplete. But when you act from the place of already being, the world has no choice but to confirm your inner truth. This is the subtle distinction that separates manifestation from striving. You do not push reality, you embody it. And embodiment draws its own evidence. Your confidence is not arrogance, it is alignment. You are not boasting, you are simply no longer pretending to be less than what you know yourself to be. This is not for show. This is not performance. This is quiet mastery. The one who has truly assumed does not explain. They do not defend. They do not wait. They live, and in living they create. Every reaction you offer to the world is a statement of belief. If you react from fear, then you reinforce the state of being threatened. If you react from lack, you confirm its presence. But when you hold to your state, when you refuse to descend into the old reactions, you maintain control. You remain the cause. The outer has no power over you once you have mastered your own state. And so let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them try to understand how the world began to honor you. Let them study your steps, your strategies, your routines. But you will know it had nothing to do with what you did. It had everything to do with who you decided to be internally, in secret, in silence. You do not move mountains by pushing them. You move them by assuming they are no longer in the way. You do not overcome resistance by battling it. You transcend it by rising above the state that created it. And the world as law reflects that rise with exactness. There are no exceptions. The mirror does not lie. Now the faces change. The attention comes. The recognition, the opportunity, the reward all appear. But they are not gifts from the world. They are echoes. They are shadows of a decision you made when no one was watching. And now all will see. They will see what has already been true, that you are the one who has won. Persistence is the secret doorway between the unseen and the seen. It is the invisible force that sustains the imaginal act long enough for it to harden into fact. Most people imagine once and then wait, imagining twice and then doubt, imagining a third time and then give up when the outer world shows no response. But the outer world was never meant to respond instantly. It responds faithfully, precisely, and without error, but only after persistence has done its perfect work. To persist is to believe more in the imaginal act than in the evidence of the senses. It is to remain loyal to the unseen truth long enough for the visible world to surrender. It is not enough to imagine once and call it done, though even a single imaginal act has power. What must happen is the deep and consistent dwelling in the end. You do not visit the state occasionally like a guest. You live in it, you walk in it, you sleep in it. You begin to feel more at home in the imaginal reality than in the sensory facts around you. That is persistence. That is creation. Your senses will lie. Your mind, shaped by years of habit, will try to drag you back into what is familiar. It will point to the past as evidence. It will whisper of doubt, of waiting, of realism. But reality does not begin with the world, it begins with awareness. When you refuse to be moved by appearances, when you stand inwardly in the fulfillment regardless of delay, then you are persistent. And that kind of persistence moves mountains. Do not confuse action with persistence. You can take action and still be inwardly ruled by fear. You can be busy in the world while inwardly reinforcing the belief that nothing is changing. True persistence is not loud. It is not frantic. It is quiet, still unwavering. It is the silent decision to remain in the end, no matter how long it seems to take. You are not waiting for confirmation, you are the confirmation. This is why the disciplined mind is so vital. Without discipline, the mind will return to old stories, old states, old emotions. But when the mind has been trained to return to the wish fulfilled, it becomes the master tool of manifestation. The body may still be in a room, but the imagination lives in the palace. The world may still say no, but the feeling says yes. And if the feeling says yes persistently, the world must echo it. That is the law. Persistence does not mean struggle. It does not mean trying to make something happen through force. It means resting in the state, abiding in the end, regardless of how many times the old world tries to pull you back. It is the firm refusal to accept any evidence that contradicts your new assumption. You do not fight the world, you simply ignore its suggestion and return to the inner vision. That is the only battle you ever fight. And once won, the outer world surrenders. Time is not your enemy. Time is the gentle unfolding of what has already been claimed. The world moves slowly to reveal what the imagination has seen instantly. But the delay is not denial, it is arrangement. The law is putting the pieces together, shaping circumstances, shifting people, guiding conversations, all to bring about the exact picture you have impressed upon it. And the only requirement is that you persist. To the one who persists, the outer world becomes soft clay. It yields, it shapes, it bends. What seemed impossible, unreasonable, or far away now moves closer. Doors open that no effort could have opened. People appear who carry answers, opportunities, and bridges. But it is not they who are causing it. It is your state that has called them. The outer is always a reflection of the inner. Never forget this. The mind may protest. It will say, but nothing is changing. The world may seem to contradict every assumption. But if you react to those facts, you return to the old state. Instead, smile. Not because you are pretending, but because you know the law. You know that persistence, true persistence, does not go unrewarded. If you hold fast, the reward must come. It is not a question of if, it is only a question of when. Persistence creates the condition for certainty. And certainty is the atmosphere in which miracles become normal. When you persist, you become immovable. You do not flinch at delay. You do not stumble at resistance. You remain, you rest. You walk forward in the feeling of done. And the law, ever obedient, ever faithful, begins to deliver. It may not come through the route you expected. It may not arrive in the way you planned. But if you remain loyal to the feeling, it must come. It will come through the perfect path. A path you could not have imagined but will recognize when it arrives. And you will know not because the world finally agreed, but because you persisted long enough to see what had always been yours. You have moved, and so has the world. What you are beginning to understand is that there is no separation between the inner self and the outer experience. There is no external world operating independently from your assumptions. All of it, the people, the events, the environment, the results, all of it is yourself pushed out. The world is not reacting to what you say. It is reflecting what you are. And when you change your inner state, the world must follow. There is no delay in the law, only delay in your acceptance. The world is not a cause, it is not an origin. It is an echo. It has no life of its own. It has no intelligence apart from the assumptions that created it. You cannot look at the world and say, that is reality, unless you are willing to say, that is my belief. For whatever you see, whatever you judge, whatever you experience is first rooted in your inner state. Change the state, and the experience must change as well. There is no escape from this truth. You may attempt to alter conditions, rearrange your environments, speak new words, or even take different actions. But unless the state of consciousness changes, the outcomes will remain the same. This is the great frustration of those who do not understand the law. They work harder, try more, speak affirmations without belief, act with urgency, and nothing changes. Because they are trying to affect the outer without adjusting the inner. They are trying to fix the mirror instead of changing the face it reflects. When you grasp that your world is a reflection of you, you stop blaming. You stop begging. You stop reacting to the external as though it were greater than the internal. You begin to turn inward, not to escape life, but to command it. You understand that every circumstance is a messenger, showing you where your awareness has been dwelling, and you receive those messages without fear. You bless the evidence even when it contradicts your desire, because you know it is old, it is the shadow of a former assumption. There is no one to change but self. You do not need to convince others, alter their opinions, win their approval, or change their behavior. That is not your role. The only transformation required is within. The moment you shift, the reflection begins to shift. It may not happen all at once, and it may not appear where you expect, but it will come. It must come, because the outer cannot resist the pressure of a new assumption held with inner conviction. Do not argue with the mirror. If what it shows displeases you, do not attack the image, change the substance. Withdraw your energy from what you no longer wish to see, and reinvest it into the feeling of the world as you wish it to be. Not someday, not eventually, but now. Into the scene now. Feel the result now. And continue to dwell in that place until the world has no choice but to conform. This requires discipline. It requires vigilance. For the world will tempt you to forget. It will present you with yesterday's news and ask you to call it truth. It will test your allegiance to the unseen reality you have claimed. But your task is not to bow to appearances. Your task is to persist in the state until the state becomes the world. You do not explain it. You do not debate it. You simply live it, and in living it you prove the law. Those who do not understand will call you unrealistic. They will say you are denying facts. But you are not denying, you are replacing. You are not blind to what is, but faithful to what must be. You are not bound to the current picture because you know that pictures change when the projector is changed. And the projector is your imagination, guided by your assumptions, fueled by your feelings. To move the world, you must first move yourself, not through force, but through feeling, not through effort, but through embodiment. Ask yourself, who am I being? Not what am I doing? For the doing follows the being. When you become the person who already has the thing desired, then the world must yield to that version of you. It must match. It must reflect. It must show what you have impressed upon the depths of consciousness. This is not theory. It is law. And the law is impartial. It does not care whether your assumption is big or small, possible or impossible, popular or secret. It only knows to reflect. It only knows to express what you have impressed. So impress wisely. Impress deliberately. Do not allow the world to inform you. Let your inner world form the outer. When you begin to see people change, situations improve, opportunities arise, you will remember this is not luck. This is not chance. This is not accident. It is alignment. It is the law echoing back to you the song you have sung in silence. It is your new state made visible, and it came not because you chased, but because you turned within. Here is the expanded 8th keynote, written in true Neville Goddard style, meditative, commanding and educational in tone. This final keynote explores the truth that fulfillment begins not by chasing results, but by becoming the sign yourself. No subheadings, no conclusion, no mention of Neville, just pure imaginal teaching as requested. The turning point is not in the world. It is not in the moment the check arrives or the door opens or the applause begins. It is in you. It is the moment you stop searching for signs and start being one. The moment you decide to no longer look outward for evidence, but to feel inward for truth. The moment you understand that the external cannot lead, it can only follow. That is the real beginning. That is the sacred shift from waiting to creating, from observing to commanding. To be the sign is to stop needing validation. It is to live with the knowing that the law has already moved, even when no one else sees it. You become the fulfillment of your desire in consciousness first, and that fulfillment begins to radiate. It spreads silently into the world, and the world by law must catch up to the vibration you now carry. You begin to walk differently, not arrogantly but confidently. Your posture changes not because you are forcing anything, but because something within has settled into certainty. You begin to speak from a place of ownership. You no longer talk about what will be. You speak as one who already has. You express not desire, but identity. And when you do this, the mirror of life changes its shape. Most are looking for signs, symbols, numbers, confirmations, green lights, as if the world must first assure them that they are on the right path. But this is backward. The world is not the source of truth. You are. The sign comes after the assumption. The evidence follows the feeling. To reverse this is to delay your manifestation indefinitely. You do not wait for a sign to feel worthy, you feel worthy, and the signs come. Being the sign means your entire being becomes a message to the world. Your calm presence becomes a declaration. Your peace is the proof. Your silence speaks louder than your words. Because when you no longer need to prove or convince, you enter the highest state of knowing. And from that state, everything flows to you with ease. You are not required to prove anything to anyone. The world may question your faith, but your faith is not in them, it is in your assumption. You may not be able to explain how, but you do not need to. The mechanics are not your responsibility. The law knows how. Your only work is to feel it done, to rest in the end, and to be the living embodiment of that inner conviction. You do not seek signs in the sky or confirmations on the clock. You seek the sign within. And when you find it, when you feel the inner click of alignment, that sacred stillness that says, it is so, you carry that as your atmosphere. That is the real sign. That is the seed of the coming harvest. From this state, life becomes less about effort and more about unfolding, less about chasing and more about allowing. You are no longer the beggar, you are the beholder. You do not plead with reality. You impress it. You do not wait to be told you're ready. You declare that you are. To be the sign is to live in gratitude before the gift arrives, to celebrate before the event, to feel the joy before the condition, not to fake it, but to embody it. And in that embodiment, you set the stage for the world to deliver what you've already accepted as yours. You must become immune to appearances, immune to delay, immune to contradiction. Because you know the outer world is late, always late. It shows you the past, not the present. The only true present is in your imagination, in your feeling, in your inner state. And once you make that real, the rest must follow. When others ask how you are so calm, you will smile. When they wonder why you're so confident, even when nothing seems to be happening, you will not need to answer. Because they will feel it. They will see the light you carry. They will witness the quiet authority of one who lives from within. And without even realizing it, they will begin to reflect back the reality you have assumed. The people, the opportunities, the signs, they will all come. But not because you chased them, because you became the one who no longer needs them. You became the center, the source, the signal, and the world by law had to respond. This is the great secret of manifestation. You are not waiting on anything. You are not waiting for things to change, or for people to notice, or for the timing to be right. You are the change, you are the proof, you are the sign. The moment you decide to live from the state of fulfillment rather than toward it, the entire direction of your life shifts. You begin to move not from lack, but from abundance. Not from desire, but from possession. Not from hope, but from certainty. And this certainty is the magnetic force that draws everything into form. When you wake up in the morning, let your first thought be one of alignment. Before you speak, before you reach for your phone, before the world has a chance to pull you back into the familiar, enter the feeling of done. Carry it into your day. Let it guide your speech, your decisions, your responses. And as you persist in this practice, the outer world will rise to meet you. And so the law has moved. Not because you pleaded with life, not because you chased your dream through strain, but because you assumed and remained. You accepted the end as real. You walked in it before the world gave you permission. And in doing so, you stepped into the power that creates worlds. You were once waiting, watching, hoping, looking for signs, searching for evidence, asking the world to change before you changed. But then you learned the world has no voice of its own. It echoes only what you whisper in the silence of imagination. It responds only to what you boldly accept as true within. The moment you turned inward, truly turned inward, everything began to align. Slowly at first, perhaps invisibly. But with each moment that you persisted in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the bridge of incidents was set in motion. And what once seemed far began to draw near. What once felt delayed began to accelerate. Because you stopped asking, you stopped needing. You became. Now the world reflects what you've long held in secret. The doubters watch in silence. The naysayers become spectators. But you are not here for their approval. You are here to demonstrate law, to embody the unseen, to become the living proof that imagination is the only reality and feeling is the path to fulfillment. You have watched your old self fall away, the self that waited, the self that feared, the self that tried to reason and force. That self has dissolved not through violence, but through light. You stepped into the new state, and the old one lost its grip. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer beg, you know. You know. And now you walk as the one who has already won. Not because you must be seen, but because you are seen by the law, by the mirror, by the world that shapes itself around your inner conviction. You have no need to explain. Your life speaks for you. Your calm is the evidence. Your movement a testimony. You are the sign you once sought. You are the answered prayer. You are the unfolding dream made flesh. And it all began when you decided to dwell in the end and refused to leave. That decision, made in silence, was the true beginning. And everything else was just the world catching up. So let them watch. Let the old world fall away. Let the new rise to meet you. Because you no longer live by appearances. You live by assumption. You no longer live by circumstance. You live by law. And the law has already moved in your favor by your hand through your imagination. Remain in the end. Abide in the feeling. Trust the unseen. And know this, it is already done.